Friends, if you're looking for real old school laughs, you're in for a treat because we've got them right here. Flip City Magazine. Remember Mad Magazine? Then it went woke? Well, don't worry. Flip City has no chance of going woke. That's right. 4 times a year, you'll get an actual printed magazine full of jokes, stories, comics, and more, all about today's pop culture, entertainment, and woke politics. Flip City takes terrible entertainment trends we love to hate with hilarious parodies of Lord of the Rings, Stranger Things, The Walking Dead, Star Trek, Hunters, and more. Trust me when I say there is nothing else like Flip City on the market. So subscribe today. It will be delivered in print, or you can even get it digitally if you're one of those wacky Zoomers. Either way, follow our link and sign up today, and if you put in midnight, you get an extra 10% off. Check out Flip City Magazine today. After dark. It is time once again for the program. We have a wonderful panel. We got Six with us. How you doing, Six?
I'm doing wonderfully. I'm all abuzz from the exciting, spectacular Oscar nominations that occurred this morning. Completely surprising.
Oh, wow. We're going to talk about those, of course. We also have with us Script Doctor.
Hey.
Oh ho.
Hi.
From the Great White North.
Mm-hmm.
How you doing tonight?
Staying warm. It's we warmed up to 0 today, so that's already a plus. And yeah, not really too surprised about the Oscar nods this year.
Yeah, sort of uneventful. Some snubs. We're going to talk about those. But yeah, we also have 32 flavors of Nick Weiser here. Hey, yo, you bring any guns?
Huge guns. Huge. We got blood on a bunch of terrorists.
You're supposed to say no, so I can say, you ain't changing nothing.
Oh, yeah. I could have, but I just wanted an excuse to say huge.
Because what we're talking about tonight, my friends.
Oh, the 2008 Rambo, which in my opinion, is one of the better of all the movies. So, yeah, looking forward to talking Rambo tonight. It's going to be the last of our Rambo series we're doing before we transition on over to a few comedy movies for a few weeks after. So what's up, chat? I see our D-buds. I see our wrenches, our goddesses, and Daryl Brewers. Thanks for your wrench services. If I missed you, apologies, and hello to you in the panel.
Glad to have you here. We also have with us CC Karaoke. Speaking of Canadians, how are you doing up there? Hopefully staying warm as well.
Oh, yeah, warm.
I think you're in the city now, aren't you?
I was. Now I'm back in the mountains. I got some skiing in this afternoon. It's all right. It's not freezing anymore.
Well, that's good.
I'll take it.
It's raining, we actually have,
but
we had to get above freezing today, so I had a bunch of shit sliding off my roof. So I had to let my landlord know. Yeah, by the way, the eaves trough got killed.
I know how that is. Like with the RV, big load of snow drops off the roof, and there's this big booming.
Just sounds like a bomb exploding. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what it does to me is also it's like right outside my window here, so it lands on a wood like patio thing. So it does. Sounds like a bomb exploding, and then the whole house shakes. It's like, yeah.
Yep.
Like, what was that? We're glad you're doing well, and you got some skiing in. We also have with us Price of Reason. How are you doing, Mr. Reason?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Still trying to calculate the price of reason.
How reasonable
is it worth the price?
You know, Pablo Hidalgo once said that it was worth $1.05. No, I'm not even kidding. Once somebody asked him what he thought somebody asked him what he thought about The Price of Reason or something, because I commented on something and they were in the thread. So he goes, I think he's worth $1.05 or something like that.
Wow.
He's a dick.
Wow. I thought he was quoting
No, he was
Team
was
America.
He was quoting Team
Freedom
America.
costs about $1.05.
He was totally quoting. He was quoting the movie, but my thing is Price of Reason, not Price of Freedom. So I guess it was supposed to be like a clever spin on that. I don't really know.
Yeah, that doesn't really compute.
It doesn't, but you were right. That's the direction he was going for.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
Cool. Yeah.
That's your answer.
Brian would say if he was here. We also have Cool Gamer, who's become a new member.
Nice.
What's that Windows icon there? Just makes me want to.
Where's those Windows sounds of the 90s? Yeah.
He's a maximum effort puppy, so we got to give him a video here. There you go. That's Mikey's favorite video. I think they're all Mikey's favorite video.
Yeah.
Speaking of, hopefully Bambino's doing good. Mikey had a bit of a scare earlier. If he's listening,
Oh no,
we're thinking about Bambino. Well, he took him to the vet. He's doing better. He said so. Yeah.
well, that's
What
good.
happened?
I'm not sure if I want to get into it all, but yeah, it's just he was just worried for his health. But he took him in, and they're going to be doing some traveling. So yeah, so hopefully everything is good to go with him. Sounds like everything's okay though. So, but you guys can ask him if you want to. But I don't want to put
bringing
out
it up and then not telling us.
Well, I don't want to put out specifics. I don't know what Mikey wants everybody knowing, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, there he is. See,
There he
Bambino's gonna make it. See,
Nice.
I don't know what I'm at liberty to say exactly. So, and I don't
Mikey
like
could jump on
people
here
out.
and tell us whatever he would like.
He
us
could,
to.
but I think he's. I don't know if he's home yet or not. He sent me some pictures. Bambino was scared underneath the table and everything. I'm like, oh, poor Bambino.
Oh,
Yeah, he's just a widow guy, but he kills snakes. So. Never forget.
he has the heart of a lion.
He does. He does. He thinks he's a lion. Truth, Hope, Love sends in $1.99 and says, so Margot Robbie really got a real wake-up call. Well, we're going to talk a little bit about that, Truth, Hope, Love. But yeah, thanks for the $1.99. But Margot got snubbed. I mean, I guess we could start there.
Better than getting nominated and losing again and again, because that's happened twice to her already.
Yeah, it has.
I mean, at least she still has her looks.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean as much as you think it means in Hollywood, especially for her.
But people in Hollywood constantly say it's just such an honor to be nominated.
Mm-hmm.
So is that kind of like it's the thought that counts?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it does help your quote a little bit.
It does a little bit, yes. But there's also the Oscar curse, too, sometimes when it comes to actors. Never forget. Especially whenever it seems like they've been waiting and waiting and waiting to win. It's like it never seems to fail. It's generally like a movie they take just before the Oscars, and it ends up being a horrible film. And sometimes it happens to even nominees. I remember Eddie Murphy with Norbit.
I'm thinking Leonardo DiCaprio mostly. They've been trying to push him to win an Oscar for like 2 decades, and when he finally gets one, it's for The Covenant, I think.
Something that is prevalent.
Well, he got that because of all the shit he went through. Let's be real. I mean,
which is not even acting. I mean,
what they need to do is quit. Yeah, they need to separate that from the acting category and call it like the Daniel Day-Lewis Award or something.
The Method Award.
Well, I mean, either the Daniel Day-Lewis or what's his face, who's in everything else. The drunk guy, Dracula. What's his name? Fuck, Commissioner Gordon. Damn it,
Gary Oldman.
Gary Oldman. Either the Gary Oldman or the Daniel Day-Lewis Award for suffering for your art. There you go.
I think I have a theory as to why this wasn't nominated, beyond the fact that it's a bad movie, but I think I know why it wasn't nominated. Award.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no problem. What happened is that at the time of this movie's release, I even saw a few kind of publications that are very pro-feminism and stuff like that, saying that they didn't, in a few cases, even saying they didn't love the movie, but they really have to support its message or support Greta and Margot and all that kind of stuff. I actually saw this written down, and people were saying, well, it's not the best movie maybe, but it's a good message, and they kept saying that. I think that at the end of the day, there are enough people, even critics, that didn't love this movie and just said they loved it. That's my opinion.
Well, and you got people like Grace Randolph losing their shit. You got a bunch of people out there just losing their shit on Twitter over this. So yeah, so for those who aren't just listening and not looking at the screen here, we got the story up that Ryan Gosling has spoken out about Barbie's Oscar snub for Greta Gerwig and Margot Robbie, saying, "I'm disappointed because without them, there is no Barbie," basically, and all that kind of stuff. He says in so many words.
He should be. He should be getting an Oscar for Best Actor, not supporting.
That's
actor.
what I said this morning, Script Doctor. Thank you. Yeah. I'm like, why is he nominated for supporting actor? He's the lead actor in the film.
Yeah, he is. Absolutely.
They didn't submit him that way because they probably figured he wouldn't. Nobody honestly would give the guy a nomination for lead actor in Barbie. So they just said maybe for supporting actor, we can get away with it. And honestly, I can't believe they even got away with that. This movie is not worthy, not his performance, not the movie. Nothing happens here that's worthy of an Oscar award.
Yeah, and Bill is backing you up here. And that's the other thing I think is funny, too, is they submit these. But now, I don't know, Script, if you're on the Oscar voting deal or not, but like, do you know if you know anything about it? I don't have the rules in front of me. I do know a few people who are in who do vote.
The rules are as follows: is that it's an aggregate list. So basically, every movie that makes a campaign gets put onto a list, and then the people who have the voting ability at the Academy Awards, they vote 1 through 10 for most of the categories, and then 1 through 5, I think, for Best Director. And then they tabulate all those together, and that forms their nominees. And it doesn't matter. It basically be like if everyone voted number 5 for, say, Christopher Nolan, it doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be one of the top 5 directors nominated for the final round. It's an aggregate. So if lots of them vote from number 1 or 2 or 4 or 5, they tabulate all those points together. Then the highest set of points out of those top 5 get their final nominations. And then they do this process again for who wins. And that's usually the case here. So it's really just a numbers game. And studios and agencies and producers and whatnot try and schmooze everyone on those voting committees to try and vote for them consistently at a higher number so that they have a better chance at winning. And one of my fun little theories is that the Academy acquiesced and basically gave Christopher Nolan the most nominations they could because they essentially snubbed him for Tenet back in 2020 or 2021.
Well, that deserved to get snubbed. It was garbage, but anyway.
It really did. But there was rumors that he was so shocked that he got snubbed that he actually made a fit.
Well, he went and made a good movie finally with Oppenheimer. But no, like, let's get Six's
I mean, a decent movie,
reaction.
but yeah, he deserves a number of the Academy nominations he got. Not Sound, though. Sound was still terrible.
Yeah, that's what pisses me off most about Godzilla, but we'll get to that. But I want to get Six's reaction since you're the obvious woman on the panel. Besides maybe Nick, we're not sure yet. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding, Nick, of course. But yeah, what's your reaction to Margot and Greta getting snubbed, I guess?
My reaction to Ryan Gosling's supporting actor nomination is they can't have a lead actor because Barbie is the center of, she's everything. That's what the movie is about. It's about Barbie. So they can't have a male counterpart and give him equal footing.
He's on the poster.
And as far as Greta Gerwig, I mean, she's nominated for a Best Adapted Screenplay. So, I mean, she's possibly going to get something.
Wasn't that one of the other arguments? Sorry, Six. But I remember that now, was whether or not she should get nominated for adapted or original screenplay. Wasn't that one of the arguments too, if somebody remembers?
I heard such a thing. In fact, Six asked me about it, and the thing is, it's an existing character. So you are adapting it from one medium to another. You cannot do an original screenplay with an existing IP in the centerpiece role. Kind of similar to how like Toy Story, that I think got a Best Original, but they invented all the toys in there, and then they used existing toys as supporting characters, which is why they didn't have to worry about the adaptation aspect.
Got you. Sorry, Six. I was just wanting to bring that up because I remember that.
No, it's a good question.
The rest of your point, though.
And as far as Margot Robbie, she did an adequate job. She didn't do anything earth-shattering. I didn't, clutch my pearls and say, Oh, she's such a good actress. That moment never happened for me, regardless of the fact that this movie was all message. So I don't think she necessarily deserved an
She
Oscar or really anything.
she looks like Barbie. That I'll give her that.
That's about
Just
it.
like
Yeah.
Barbie. Absolutely.
I mean, it's not like her grand performance or anything. I'll agree with you there. Yeah.
I mean, would this movie have been nominated if they took out that speech? America
I'll go
Forever.
on further. I don't think this movie would have been nominated had it been released anytime before 2016 and anytime after this woke shit finally goes away. This to me is the crowning achievement of woke right here. I told y'all this was going to happen. It got 8 nominations, and the fact that they're bitching that it didn't get these 2 just shows you how fucking much of children they are. And they're the ones voting this shit.
Yeah,
That's
it's
what
kind
I
of-
insulting
love about this. Sorry, go
It's
ahead.
insulting to the people who were nominated. Like, who are you going to take off the list so that you can wedge Greta Gerwig in there for Best Director and Margot Robbie in there for Best Actress? Who are you gonna pull off that list?
Get rid of Annette Bening. She sucks.
Well, here's the thing that bothers me about this is when
Yeah.
they make this big deal out of it, it's like they don't always, but they generally act like they're pointing the finger at us, and it's like, what the fuck did we do?
Yeah, we had nothing to do.
We
I
have
didn't vote.
nothing to do with this. In fact, those people that are all like Oscar's so white, it's like, you voted. You're the reason it's so
Yeah.
white. What
Mhm.
what point are you making here? You might as well just wear a fucking pin that says it's all my fault. Like,
But they
'Cause-
always do that same deflection. That's the whole story of that industry. All they do is take their own kind of mistakes and things they've done bad and misplaced it and put it on everybody else as if it was everybody's fault. And now they're fixing something.
Yup.
I mean, it's the kind of movie that gets a costume design or set design nomination. It shouldn't be getting 8 nominations though.
Right.
You know, every
I
year
don't know,
there's always a
cinematography was
movie
pretty good.
that's not absolutely horrible, and it'll get that sound design or that
Yeah.
costume design. And I'm not trying to knock sound design is a great, much overlooked award, but there's always that movie that gets a couple of those without getting the big ones, and maybe that's fine for this.
I didn't realize I was muted there for a second, but yeah, what
What
Chris is saying here, there's multiple parties griping about this, Chris, and some of them are people in the industry, and those are the people that I look at and go, why are you bitching? Sorry, you were gonna say 6.
What do we have a list? I'm looking right now for a list of what exactly it was nominated.
I do have the full list coming up
Four.
here. I just wanted to highlight this first because it jumped off the super chat. Plus, it's part of the conversation. But did
Because-
anybody else go ahead?
Well,
Sarah.
I just want to respond to what Cece said about sound. Was it nominated for sound?
Barbie. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
Godzilla wasn't. That's all I know, and I know that's a
Yeah,
travesty.
That's right.
Because I'm not kidding. That is one of the best sound experiences I have ever had in a theater. And I mean, I have a very expensive Dolby Atmos home theater system as it is. I can't wait to get that bastard in my house because it felt like Godzilla was walking over top of you, and the way the planes and everything goes going, it was just like it was just brilliant. It was like I couldn't expect a better experience than that in the sound department. But anyway, that being said, let's grab some of these super chats and then we'll talk about Godzilla. We got Mattuine, if I'm saying that right. That's a brand new name. That's your first super
like
chat
that.
here, I believe.
It's got a
Thank
good
you for
ring to
that.
it.
He sounds familiar.
That's not a new name.
Is not?
No,
Why
haven't
do I
heard
not
it.
recognize it? Yeah, with
Sounds
$5
very
though.
Yeah.
haven't seen him in a while.
It's
Okay.
new to me.
I usually remember people mostly by icons too. Unless they got a very unique name, like Look at My Butt. Like that I would remember.
Of course.
Right. I mean, it is. Mattuine, though, thank you so much for the 5 and says, and now the Academy has DEI benchmarks as prerequisites, even being eligible. See, here's the thing that's funny about this. And I talked a little bit about it. I remember before, I know Script, you brought this up before too, where you talked about it. They only have to meet the requisites both either, or not both, but either in front of or behind the camera, correct? Isn't that how it works? It's not
2 out
all
of
like,
the 4.
I thought
Right.
it both ways.
he might be gone. He's muted
What?
otherwise. Yeah, I think he had to step away.
Who did?
He's on the phone with.
Oh, you. I was asking you. I was like,
No, you
do you,
didn't. Or unless you glitched out on my end. What was the question?
maybe I did. I asked, said, now the way these prerequisites work for this DEI stuff with the Oscars, as long as they have a set number of people either working in front of or behind the camera, it doesn't have to be both. They qualify, correct? As long as it's one or the other.
It seems to be a little mixed on that. It looks like it's supposed to be both, but I think they're probably fudged it so that it only has to be one or the other.
Well, because otherwise there's no way Oppenheimer would get nominated.
No, it shouldn't. But then again, how often do you really expect the Academy of Arts and Motion Pictures to actually honor the very rules that they have, considering the fact that they let Mr. Weinstein buy the Oscars for the last 25 years? And by default now, since Christopher Nolan got on the scene, he is always going to have to get at least a minimum of one nomination for whatever movie he does.
Semantics. No, I'm just kidding. No, yeah. Yeah, I knew this was not going to work out for them very well. I don't know if there was anything this year that kind of fell in this category other than maybe Oppenheimer. Really. Because just about everything else, I guess, would qualify. So, but we'll get to that list here in just a moment here, so you'll see how qualified it is. Thank you for that, Matt Tween. I wish I had the rules. I don't have them. I'm not sure. Are they public?
About it, but I think I deleted it because I honestly did not think we were going to be talking about the Oscars tonight.
Well, sadly, the fact that certain things got snubbed is kind of the reason why we're talking about it more than anything. But Scott Westbrook here sent us a super sticker. Thank you so much, Scott. Let me see if the mod group grabbed that. I think they did. It is a Keep It Up sticker with a little pear pumping some iron. Thank you so much, Scott, and thank you to the mods for grabbing that in the background. We appreciate it. And we got Alpha Omega here who sends in $5. Says an Asian film gets snubbed by Wokewood. Must be a day that ends in Y. Only going to get worse in Wokewood to control and Asia not playing that game. Well, Parasite beat Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and everything else that got nominated that year.
Yep. And that's Japan is not going to be fortified very long against a lot of this ideology. I hate to break it to you guys, especially you anime manga fans out there.
Especially Japan. Like China, maybe. Japan, no.
Well, China's fueling this stuff, man.
They're doing it on purpose to break us down. That's I'm not even get into that shit because that's like, yeah. Anyway, but you know what I'm talking about. Yes, like this is we're talking about cultural warfare here, actually, kids. Yeah, you can hope for that, but like that's what bothered me is like any other year, and that was the other thing I was going to ask because even though I think Japan submitted another movie for foreign film. Would it matter if everybody else who was Academy member just decided to nominate Godzilla as well or instead?
Has to be submitted.
It has to be submitted? Okay, that was one of my questions from earlier I didn't have the answer for, but okay.
I don't know if Japan did submit this.
They did not.
So then they're not nominated.
No, that's why they did not for foreign film. So yeah.
I have a theory. I think that first of all, a lot of the people seeing these screeners and voting, they probably didn't see Godzilla -1 because they probably thought it was a movie that was beneath them and who knows what. So maybe a lot of people didn't watch it.
That's not an idea. That's not an ideology in Hollywood. You do not understand how much they love all sorts of movies. They don't care.
So I mean,
I don't know.
Every movie actually get watched?
I can totally see them not watching it or not caring about it because it has like Godzilla.
I think it has less to do with it being Godzilla price. I think you're kind of onto something though, and this is my opinion, obviously. I think it has more to do with the fact that it made them look bad.
That's true.
That's why they're ignoring it. I think, and I'm surprised that the special effects artists, actually, I'm not surprised, let's say, that the special effects artists are the only ones who can get out of the way of their own fucking egos and give this movie a nomination because they're the only ones who've been griping about the Hollywood system as it is more so than anybody else as far as being screwed over. So for them to sit here and see a movie that's only cost $10 million, do what it's done, be a foreign film, this is a big kind of like, it makes Hollywood look super bad, right? Considering they're spending $200 to $300 million on these movies. This movie had 0 movie stars other than Godzilla himself, right? So that being said, I mean, I think it was snubbed more so just because of those reasons. And I mean, that's kind of leading us into the main topic, I guess. We'll come back to the super chats here, but Yeah, I mean the full list is here, and Godzilla got one measly nomination, and that was it. And that's in the special effects category. No sound, no production design, no director, no best picture. And again, before anybody goes, well, it's a foreign film. Plenty of foreign films have been nominated and even won best picture in the past.
Right, and they were crap too.
I mean, the
Some of
Oscars have
them.
a long history of snubbing blockbusters, though, as if they're just not hipster enough. They're
Yeah,
kind of
this
not
is
artsy
this
enough.
Yeah,
is
since the
something that
90s.
they've been doing for a long time. I mean, it reminds me about Best Play during the Oscars So White controversy, quotation marks controversy, and Ice Cube had a great response to it. And he said, "You know what? Who cares about these things? It's all set up. It's all socially politically driven." And it's at the end of the day, it's about satisfying the fans who paid to see your movies. And I agree with that. It's kind of like I've seen the same thing with music with the Grammys. It's like Public Enemy. They respond, but who gives a fuck about these
It's
shows?
the equivalent of the employee of the month at McDonald's, but it's Hollywood.
Yes.
That is what it is.
Put on
Script
a
is not
national
wrong.
stage. Yes.
The only reason it was ever a big deal is because we actually wanted to see these movie stars in their, in their attire, having a good time, roasting each other, celebrating, talking a little bit about the industry outside of,
Roasts were good.
I mean, they had fun. There was the music, there was the comedians who would usually be your hosts, whether it be like Whoopi or Billy Crystal, or even back to the fucking Johnny Carson days. Johnny Carson did it for years. I mean, like, there's movies that do make money and win. I just want to address that real quick with Goddess to Win, but it's very far and few between. This will be one of the rare years where I think Oppenheimer's going to win most of the awards, but I'm also not surprised that Barbie was nominated for 8 awards. That does not surprise me one bit.
Yeah.
Let's go through
either.
let's go through these here. We got the list here. We got Best Picture, American Fiction, which is funny because Amazon has all but basically buried that movie, but Yellow Flash saw it and he said the best parts are in the trailer, sadly. So it's not he said it's not as funny as the trailer makes it out to be.
Why are there so many movies nominated for Best Picture? Didn't it used to be?
They raised it to
Drop that
10.
number?
They raised it from 7 to 10 the year
5 to
that
10.
was it 5 to 10? Okay.
5 to
5 to
10, yeah.
10 the year that Dark Knight came out, if I remember right.
Around that
Really?
time, yes, because
Holy
we
crap.
were actually, I mean, from Hollywood's standards or the Academy standards, they felt that we were getting more great movies per year and that too many were being snubbed, so they expanded the Best Picture category.
And to be fair on that note, I will say that there is good cause for that, because going back even just 20 years from that point, the studios were releasing maybe half of the movies that they were by that time compared to then.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, the amount of movies they were producing had gone up astronomically as well.
At
So, I
least
mean,
twofold at minimum, yeah.
and the part of the reason was is so they could not only, because things were getting snubbed, but they also wanted to start bringing in some titles that people actually recognized. And that was kind of like the whole reason the Dark Knight rule. Exactly. Yeah. Because people are like, yeah, that better get nominated or we're going to raise some hell.
Here's the funny thing. Prior to Heath Ledger's untimely passing, nobody was ever expecting The Dark Knight to get nominated. It's only when he died.
You're
He
not
died on
wrong. I'm
another
not going to
film.
argue on
Yep.
that.
Did they want to do that?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
again, this is the thing. This is why one of the reasons why I don't really like Christopher Nolan is because as soon as Heath Ledger passed away, he seeded ideas that he died during production of The Dark Knight, when it's not the case. He died during the production of The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus. And Nolan used that as an angle to get himself some nominations for his film. And I thought that was pretty twisted and evil.
Yeah.
Well, all that
it's
really needed to be
dummy.
done, I think, was some ADR and maybe some pickups or something like that they didn't get.
No,
to
he didn't
finish,
need
and
to
that
do
was it.
anything. He didn't go back to reshoot at all. He just took the best takes because, again, there's a significant scene with Heath Ledger and Aaron Eckhart in the hospital, and Heath Ledger misses a line of dialogue, and they don't ADR it and they don't pick it up. They just ignore it. And it's a pivotal part of dialogue. It's basically explaining why the analogy that Joker's making makes sense, because as it's done in the film, it doesn't. So yeah, that's what he did. And everybody, he took advantage of all their sympathies and their compassion, and the Academy's like, you know what? Yeah, let's do it for 5. There's lots more movies out there. There's lots more to choose from. Why not add another 5? There we go. 10 Best Pictures. And that's what happened.
Well, we also got Anatomy of a Fall. Never heard of it. Barbie, of course. Holdovers. Killers of the Flower Moon. Maestro. For those who don't know, that's the Bradley Cooper movie about what's his face?
Leonard Bernstein.
Leonard Bernstein. Then you got Oppenheimer, Past Lives, Poor Things, and Zone of Interest, another one I never heard of. So there you go. No Godzilla. I can't understand this. Look, and I get it. Part of it might be, oh yeah, it's a sci-fi. Yeah, it's this, that, it's the other. It's like, I think it has, and as I was saying before, I think it has everything to do with it. It showed Hollywood up.
If, let's say, there was one spot for a movie that's sort of fictional and you had either Barbie and Godzilla -1, the fact that Barbie is the candidate and not Godzilla -1 is a disgrace, in my opinion, when it comes to merit, not when it comes to whatever the politics are and the whatever they were doing.
I truly don't think they see a movie like a Godzilla movie. I mean, this is just me. I think it's a bit of a simpler take. I think it's just a fact that it's a Godzilla movie. We can't take this thing about a big giant, they'll call it like a green dinosaur, even though it's not a dinosaur, but to them, that's what they see. And they go, we can't have a Godzilla movie being that. We got to have one of these other movies because they
I agree with you.
Sorry to push back on you guys, but a lot of actors and people who are on those committees are not that pretentious.
No,
they really aren't.
Well,
they love watching silly, hokey, crappy movies, and if they find a reason to validate a nomination for it, they will. But then there's also the prestige aspect that comes with the Academy of Motion Pictures, and there's a whole lobbying industry around them that says, hey, they may have. Listen, I guarantee you, if there was a screener sent of Godzilla -1 to everyone on the Academy Committee, they watched it and enjoyed it. But whether or not they got their vote, that comes down to the schmoozing, the wheeling and dealing, and the stuff behind the scenes.
Not to push back against what you're saying, but I think the proof is in the pudding. If you look back several years now, that anything, they're always going for the political messaging, for all that snooty crap that nobody cares about. That's what they're usually pushing into these things, and that's why these award ceremonies have become so irrelevant and so uninteresting to so many people, because I think they're very out of touch.
I agree with Price in the sense that if Godzilla -1 had a trans allegory in it, it would have got nominated for Best Picture.
If the lead was that and there was that character and that was the lead and it was giving speeches about it, like America Ferrera about that whole topic, Godzilla would have now 10 nominations.
Exactly. Sound of Freedom has 0 nominations, right?
And San Ankara, yeah, well, that doesn't surprise me at all, CC.
No, but
you're right, because any other year it would have been, right? Like any other time, let's say, not any other year, but any other time other than this.
10 years ago, Sound of Freedom would have gotten a nomination, but now it won't get one. And even in 2018, there was that Roma movie, some Netflix thing. I mean, with all due respect, it was something about a Mexican maid. I don't even know what it was. They showered it with a ton of awards and stuff. You want to tell me that people sat and actually enjoyed that movie? That's not pretentious. That's very pretentious. That is the media.
They had a hell of a marketing campaign. I remember the Roma's marketing campaign that year. They were
super pretentious. So
they were throwing so much money at everybody during 2018 on that Roma. And Roma's just like, oh wait, it's like Rashomon and Vantage Point and all these other films that are just taking multiple different perspectives and whatnot.
Doesn't the Academy historically shun or snub or ignore monster movies and horror films?
Oh yeah.
Or is it
but the thing is that you always hear members of the Academy talking about them with such reverence. It's just like, well, then why don't you nominate us? Well, we got these lobbyists came to us. They convinced us that this was more for it. And again, remember, the Academy of Arts, Motion Pictures is not for the audience. It's for the people in the industry.
Right.
You have the money, and you wine and dine the people that are on the voting board. You get your movie nominated and you get your movie voted. If Japan didn't want to do that, then they're not going to get anything more than a bare minimum nomination, which was special effects. And that's just the fact of the matter.
And the nominating is anonymous, correct?
Not really, no.
Oh,
people within the Academy know who nominated for who because all the numbers are tabulated, but they're just not released.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, I did hear on Film Threat this morning, they were doing live reaction to the nominees, that Chris Gore said that studios will spend millions of dollars on campaigns
Yep.
to get
Oh,
their
yeah.
movies nominated. That's
You think Japan's
fucking
going to spend millions
bananas.
of dollars on a
No.
campaign
No.
after they spent 15 on Godzilla -1? No, they're not going
Right.
to do that.
Well, that's my part of my follow-up question is, does that factor into then the budget for the movie?
No, that's always separate.
Okay.
I will
No, because
say
I think
this.
that can fall under advertising, I believe. Go ahead, Price. Sorry.
No. I was just gonna what Script was saying. I think he was trying to say that even though all these movies are a lot of times pretentious, and these guys seem like a pretentious bunch of jerks, which they are in many cases, not all of them, but a lot of them are. He's saying that maybe behind the scenes, some of the people actually do enjoy these movies, but then they don't vote for them. But even if that's true, Script, I think that makes things even worse. It sort of
does.
enhances the hypocrisy.
No, you're absolutely right, because it's not about the merit of the films and what people enjoyed. It hasn't been that way since
No,
the
not
late
for a
80s,
while.
early 90s.
I was gonna say
Basically,
at
yeah,
least the
Weinstein
90s.
age, stuff like that. Basically, yeah, because
There's a
they
whole
vote the
generation.
way that they vote the way they think they're expected to be voting, and not the way they actually want to vote. That I
Exactly.
agree with 100%. And but I mean, this even goes back farther to things like Jaws and Star Wars, for instance. Clear movies that should have been the best picture winners of the year,
Yeah,
but were
listen, I know
snubbed because people probably voted more with the idea that I shouldn't vote this way because it clearly should go to Annie Hall, but
it's the
like because it needs
misconception
more.
of high art. Oh, and
Yeah.
I'll tell you this. I know people who are on the Academy of Arts Motion Pictures Council. Their favorite movie is The Dukes of Hazzard that came out in like 2005. Okay, like these guys are very much in line with normal stuff, but there is a certain pedigree when it comes to the Academy of Arts and Motion Pictures. It's been generationally induced because of the acts of what Harvey Weinstein has done, and it has really hurt the Oscars show, and it's hurt the validity of what these Academy Awards actually mean. It's why they're almost kind of viewed as worthless by a lot of people. Even Steven Spielberg has a wonderful speech that how the best movies ever made, some of them don't even have Oscars, and there's a reason for that. And it's Harvey Weinstein. But
And it could go the other way too, where you could argue that 9 times out of 10, the best picture winner of the year is not the movie that people remember 10 years down the road. When's the last time you watched Out of Africa?
Never.
Never.
Yeah.
Exactly my fucking point.
Or Life of Pi.
Or Life of Pi. Yeah.
Something more recent, you know.
English Patient.
The English Patient, exactly. Or Shakespeare in Love.
These shows are.
God, I had to see that in high school, and
That was a Weinstein.
It was, and that's where the
Definitely.
people started going, wait a fucking minute here.
Slumdog Millionaire. Did that win an award? Because
Yes, it did.
King's Speech. The King's Speech.
Well, the King's Speech got snubbed, I believe, didn't it?
Oh.
No, it got nominated but didn't win.
Not nominated but didn't win. Yeah, that's
And
right.
Whatever.
The King's Speech is good. I enjoyed the King's Speech.
No, that's the thing though. It's kind of funny about a lot of that shit. But yeah, but let's move on to directors now because we got a few more of these. I want to get at least the main stuff. We got Justin Treat for Anatomy of the Fall, Martin Scorsese, Christopher Nolan, Yargo Lanthimos, and Jonathan Glazer. So yeah, honestly, I think between
Scorsese and Nolan.
Jesus Christ. I actually wasn't going to say Scorsese, but you might be right. What the fuck is going on with my mouse here?
Just
Jesus.
Click anywhere.
Did you buy a new mouse yet?
No, I did not. I believe it's between these two actually, because usually Scorsese gets snubbed.
Oh,
which two? Because not everybody's watching this.
I got Christopher Nolan and Yargos. Yeah, I think Poor Things. Yeah, because it's just one of those movies that everybody keeps fucking talking about. I haven't seen it
He
yet.
made Emma Stone look way more uglier than she actually is. So.
Well, everybody keeps fucking talking about it, though. There's even been some people in our sphere who are like, oh, no, it's not what you think it is. So it's like,
okay.
I don't know how you can get around that, but all right.
Frankenhooker.
Yeah, I know. Right. Well, and it's worse because it's a kid's brain, a child's brain, a baby
inside
brain,
an adult body. Yeah.
That's the part that I have a hard time getting around with this. I could give a fuck if it was an adult brain and you're doing a Bride of Frankenstein, Frankenhooker thing. I could care less. I'd be like, all right, more power to you. Mm-hmm. My problem I have is that I can't get around that. So, and nobody's been able to explain that to me. So,
well, no one aside from the creator knows it's a child's brain inside her body.
Do the people watching the movie know?
People watching know.
Yes, that's called dramatic
It's
irony.
weird.
It's creepy, but it's dramatic irony.
Have you Script? Have you seen it?
I have read the screenplay,
Okay.
and it was disturbing to read. And I do have a screener to watch, but I don't really want to check it out because I've read the screenplay. I was not impressed.
Okay. Then it's garbage.
They nominated.
Actually, go ahead, Chris.
No, you go first.
I was just going to answer Ron here. I will never say I will never watch a movie. Okay. Despite what it's about and certain things, this is one that I probably just eventually I'm going to have to break down and see just so I can see what everybody's talking about. That doesn't mean that my opinion's going to change afterwards, though. It could, but I'm not going to go out of my way to see it. That's the difference. Like if it pops up one day on Amazon Prime or whoever it is that owns the rights to it, okay, maybe if I've got 2 hours to kill or whatever.
Okay, what's
So,
next?
Yeah, then we got. What were you going to say, Price? You were going to say something about it.
I just wanted to say that Martin Scorsese at least had to get a nomination, because he did a movie about how the white men were bad to Native Americans, and that's the kind of stuff that the Academy loves. I'm not saying that such things didn't happen in history. I'm just saying that if there's a movie that they'll consider giving him an award and seriously consider it, it's probably this. I don't think they will, but it's obvious that they had to nominate him a lot because this is what they've always wanted from him. They don't like those mafia movies. They wanted this.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see him winning, though. You're right in all the things you just said. Like, if there was ever a movie that Scorsese would make that was almost a shoo-in to get him an award, it would be this. And I just think they're not even going to give it to him for this. So
You're probably right.
The only one who's going to win anything for this is going to be the actress, which we'll get to here in just a moment, I believe. And I don't know, is it for any writing awards? Maybe that, like adaptation, maybe.
Emma Stone, she's super overrated. Oh, sorry, I thought you meant for the other one. Lily Gladstone, is that what you were talking about?
Yeah, but I still think I'm not sure. Like Emma Stone could get it.
I think they're going to give it to her. They like her. I think they like her more than they should. Meaning,
the only reason I think that she might get it is just because she's also one that's really into their politics and she's nut jobby SJW.
Right, and they love her.
Lily lady is, yeah.
Absolutely love her, and that's why. I mean, I've always thought that she's kind of overrated. I'm not saying she's the worst actress in the world. She's decent, but I think that they make a lot more of Emma Stone than what she is.
Yeah, see, that's the thing, though. The only reason I think they'll give it to her is because it's just, I don't know. This is a tough one. As far as actor, let's jump back to that one. We got Jeffrey Wright, Cillian Murphy, Paul Giamatti, Coleman Domingo, and Bradley Cooper.
Bradley Cooper's gonna get it.
I was gonna say, I think it's down between Bradley and Cillian. I don't know, or Killian, however you're supposed to pronounce it.
I think Paul Giamatti's got more behind him than Bradley Cooper.
There's been a few people who've mentioned that too, Scripps, so I'm not going to count him out, but I would say it's like probably 40, 40, 20.
Well, I'll put you this way. Bradley Cooper wore a prosthetic nose. Paul Giamatti actually acted.
You're not wrong, but
Yeah.
Paul's also not somebody that the Academy's often really, and they recognize him, but they don't really. We'll see.
No, you're not wrong there. Traditionally, they like him, but they've never liked him enough.
I feel like
Bradley
I'm
not
waiting
as
my
much
whole
as
life
Sally
for Paul
Field, yeah.
Giamatti to win something.
Yeah.
Bradley Cooper, they don't love him. I always feel
They do
like
not.
they think that he's a pretty boy, or there's something about him that they don't like. And
Well, he's
I'm
not
not really.
authentic. That's one of the things. Bradley Cooper is literally the epitome of a non-authentic actor. And there's also the stigma, which is that he's one of the few actors that came out of the actor studio in New York over at Juilliard, who actually got like a name there. But it's been recently revealed that he comes from a very wealthy family that kind of bought him his position as an actor, as opposed to any actual.
I don't think he's bad though. I don't think that when I see him in a movie,
He's
I don't.
average. That's the thing.
I thought I would say he was above average. I'm not saying he's the best. He's not Christian Bale or something like a heavy hitter like that. But I'm saying I think he's he's pretty good. He's a pretty good actor, I think. I've seen worse. I mean, he's better than Vin Diesel.
We should have gone
Yeah.
through this list and written
That's a
down
very low bar.
Yeah, you're not wrong, Six. Maybe we'll do that for
We could do
the
that
morning
quick on
show.
another show.
Yeah, another show. Yeah, but I mean, I gotta say, I would love to see Paul Giamatti win just so he can come up and go, "It's about fucking time." Just like, you know, just
You laughed at me from Planet of the Apes, and I showed you.
fuck all of you. Thanks.
I'm saying I got this for Sideways.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's one of the, wow, he's been nominated a few times, but I say that was probably one of his first times. But yeah.
Is it printed on the or engraved on the label? What movie
Yes,
they or
I
what
believe
role they
so.
got it for? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. We went through Best Actress. So Best Actor in Supporting Role. Well, here's where Ryan Gosling comes in. We also got Mark Ruffalo, Robert Downey Jr., Robert De Niro, and Sterling K. Brown. Though I believe Robert Downey Jr. is the one who's looking to be the favor right now.
He's probably going to win it, which is why I thought
Yeah.
it was dumb for Warner Brothers to put Gosling in supporting when he could have probably won it for lead. Well, at least from their perspective.
You know, you're not wrong. Looking at the best leading actor, I mean, the only reason I'd say Cillian Murphy might get it is just because he was able to make somebody who's kind of like an unlikable person likable or understandable or not really likable, but empathetic. Thank you. To where you actually like give a shit, right? So there's that part of it compared to like, look, I know I'm probably gonna get some shit for this, but I did not like A Beautiful Mind. I thought it was very.
It was annoying. I agree with you.
Yeah, I did not like the characters.
The twist was annoying.
You didn't
Twist
like
was
the
dumb.
Akiva Goldsman adapted Beautiful Mind?
No, I did not. And in this sense, though, I mean, I know you didn't sound like you liked it as much script, but this movie surprised the piss out of me because I'm not generally a Nolan fan. Like of all of his films, I like maybe every other one of his films, and that's a maybe. And this is probably one of my favorites of his films. I didn't expect to like it as much as I did. And it's kind of one of the first times where it's the sum of the whole. Yes, there's some issues with it. I hate the fucking score. You're right about the sound mix. But between the production design, the casting, the writing, the pacing, all that stuff compared to, it's like he managed to take all those things that he's good at and the sum of its whole. This is probably one of the best representations of Christopher Nolan from beginning to end, because it doesn't have some stupid fucking ending on it. It doesn't meander forever. The shits that's there is there for a reason. You get stuff fed to you when you need it. I didn't feel like the 3-hour running time was too over long. Sure, you probably could have cut a good 15, 20 minutes. I'm not going to say you couldn't.
You almost cut an hour out of it, actually. But
possibly, but it didn't overstay its welcome, in my opinion.
Okay.
So, in that sense, I think Cillian might get it, but otherwise it's a toss-up with the rest of them. I just don't know about Jeffrey Wright getting it because he's just kind of playing the standard writer role, and I don't hear anybody talking about him, but Paul Giamatti is the only other name I ever heard come up. So yeah, who knows? Moving right along.
Yeah,
I want to say something about the Ken and the lead thing. A lot of times in the supporting actor category, if it's something a little more comedic, a little more lighthearted, it's a different type of responsibility or whatever it is than the leading actor, the way they see it. And when you have leading actors, things like Oppenheimer and these kind of very serious movies, there's no way that with a straight face they could have tried to throw Ryan Gosling as Ken into there and expected him to win. Can you imagine that, like, Cillian Murphy and whoever and Paul Giamatti are sitting there and they give Ryan Gosling lead actor.
Gave it to that fucking guy.
Yeah.
it would never happen. The only way they could get away with it is submitting him for supporting actor.
Even though
they would do their bets, that's why.
I don't know if he should, because obviously I haven't seen his movies, but let's just imagine that I did. It would be funny to see happen just because of the fact that he was Ken in a Barbie movie over these are guys who obviously had performances that, judging by what you guys are saying, sound like they had a lot more depth and heart and emotion than, well, Ryan Gosling being Ken. Now, it would be funny in that regard. I'm not saying he deserves it or doesn't. Just it would be funny because no one would expect. It would definitely be like the big upset in a way, especially for the celebrities. It would be comical for me.
Sad part is the Oscars have gotten, I mean, besides all the other sad shit that this is like probably 20th on the list, don't get me wrong, is that these all have just become to this point where, well, anyway, never mind. I forgot my train of thought. Let's go to some super chats. Fuck it. Goddess of Whim sends in $10. Thank you so much, Goddess of Whim. Says the Oscars are Oppenheimer's to lose. I agree with you. All the others need not apply. Little surprised Mario wasn't nominated for animated film, but really it's Miyazaki versus Spider-Man. Well, we're gonna get to that. That's coming up here, actually. Goddess of Whim. But yeah, I agree with you. Oppenheimer's to lose at this point. But yeah, Don Johnson's in the house. How you doing, Don Johnson? Sends in $1.99 and says, "Would you say the Iron Claw was snubbed?" Yes, that's another one that a few people were talking about got completely snubbed.
I don't even think it had much of a campaign either.
Well, and this is what I was going to say before. If anything, it's because, you know, it's a smaller film, but that's what you guys were talking about. We've kind of been touching on all night and never really nailed down. And what Price was just talking about too is the politics of all this shit, right? The politics is what's ruined this whole fucking thing. Because Ryan Gosling should be in the best actor role, but he's in supporting because they think he's got a chance. There's politics right there involved. All this whole thing is all politics. Anyway, 6, you were about to say, sorry.
Didn't the Iron Claw come out late in the Oscar?
They put it out, I believe, in limited release soon enough, but I just don't think they have the money behind it, like some of these
money and the DEI, because the
DEI is probably another thing too.
One. Yeah. Even though they were being historically accurate to the,
it's about a bunch of white boys being men. So yeah.
So but there were, even though there were people actually complaining, and it gained, like, granted it was minimal traction, but it did gain some traction saying, "Hey, why are all these guys in this movie and that they're all white?" It's just like, oh my fucking
Well, they were gonna have one of the brothers be black, but they couldn't figure out how to make that work. So
it's so dumb. It's like this is where we're at now. Like, I'm granted, I already know race swaps are generally stupid to begin with, but no, I can overlook it if it's still good performance, but I'll still call it needless. But when you're now doing over real life people, that to me is just straight. That should never be accepted.
Wait, what 3 different versions of Barbie could you have? I haven't had HBO Max in a while.
Well, I have Max. There's 3 versions.
What 3 version? Like, I don't get it.
Theatrical director extended? Like, I don't.
Is there, like, I didn't even know there was any extended cuts or anything like that. Somebody's gonna have to fill me in on that one. But Richard Curtis has become a new member. Oh, go ahead.
There's Barbie, and then there's Barbie with ASL.
Oh, that's the sign language.
And then there's a Barbie feature commentary.
Oh, okay. So it's got the commentary on it. All right.
And then there's a TV show, Barbie Dreamhouse Challenge.
Okay.
I have to watch that later tonight.
All right, so it's just variations for you can watch the director's commentary, you can watch the movie as it is, and you can watch the movie with assisted description for the visually impaired.
Yeah.
They should do one in black and white, like Godzilla.
And then all the charm would be drawn. Then watch, nobody would like it because all the charm would be gone. Because that's the only reason people like it is because it's colorful.
They could Schindler's List it, and just only the pink stuff is in color, and everything else.
Then most of the movie would still be in color.
Yeah.
Just until it'd be like the reverse of Wizard of Oz. She gets to.
Yeah.
That actually would have made the movie better in some ways if you think about it.
Right. That would have been at least an interesting creative.
It should have been a reverse on the Wizard of Oz. It really should have.
They wanted to fit it into more of a Pinocchio type of story. That's why.
Yeah.
But Wizard of Oz probably would have had been an interesting aspect to it as well.
For
Didn't
Barbie, I think
something like that with the color change with a movie with Reese Witherspoon.
Pleasantville.
Pleasantville.
Yeah.
Pleasantville. Yes, that's a very good movie. Yes. One of the few
I
Reese
really
Witherspoon movies I actually can stand.
I actually really like that movie. It has Tobey Maguire in it too. That's a
one of my
good
favorites.
movie.
Jeff Daniels.
Yeah, it's a great cast.
I'm actually forgetting some of the other names, but I actually
I think Michael McKean is in it. I think
Michael McKean.
Paul Walker has a small role.
He's a jock in it. Yep.
Yeah.
Dang, it's
William
The
H.
guy
Macy.
from Fargo.
Willie
One of the guys
says.
from the Fargo.
That's what I was trying to
film.
think. Yeah, William H. Macy. Yeah.
William
that's
H.
what I was
Macy.
trying-
There we
Yes,
go.
yes, he's good in
I
that.
never remember his damn name, but yeah.
And
Um,
The Giver.
He's always the Fargo guy. The Giver? What's The Giver?
It's a novel. It's one of my
Bridges?
favorites. They did eventually make an adaptation of it, like a movie out of it. But I'll take
Oh, right.
Pleasantville because Pleasantville's basically
Oh, is it similar?
heavily
Okay.
influenced by The Giver.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
The Giver is a. If correct me if I'm wrong, CC, but The Giver is basically a dystopic future where certain people are positioned to do specific jobs, such as
Yes.
breeder and whatnot. And one boy is picked to be the giver, and he finds out all the secrets of humanity and how dark it actually is, and pushes back against the way things are.
Yeah, it's a great story, and it uses that same
Never heard of it.
mechanism of Pleasantville, where as he discovers what's happening, he begins to see color. Right?
You're right.
Never heard of it. Then Richard Curtis has become a new member. I can't see what level. Did you catch what level it was? 6? Nobody in the mod
did.
chat did.
I did catch it, and
Oh no, yes, we did. D-Bud did. It's minimum effort. Sorry about that, both of y'all.
I should be fired.
No. I should be fired because
You're
missed
fired, Tom.
actually I lied because this is Mikey's favorite one because he's like, that's Bambino. But you know what? I'm gonna say Bambino's a maximum effort puppy today because he deserves it. Or Bambino. But thank you, Richard, for becoming a member. We appreciate that. Dark Saber Forces has been a member for 20 months. It says, remember when everyone bent over for Parasite and yet Godzilla -1 gets Jack? Despise Hollywood, and of course, Sound of Freedom doesn't get Jack. Yes, these are my feelings exactly here. Now, Sound of Freedom, I'm not surprised one little bit. But I was saying that just a couple weeks ago. I'm like, if Godzilla -1 doesn't at least get nominated, considering Parasite fucking won, I'm going to be pissed. And
Yeah,
I'm
the
pissed.
people behind Parasite did have a huge lobby for that film.
Yeah, that's
Again,
true.
I'm telling you, like, if Godzilla got that special effects thing, that's all that the studio that made Godzilla was able to afford to do. That was it. They didn't want to spend any more money on it, and I don't begrudge them for doing that.
But isn't there
Is-
a category for foreign films?
There
Yeah.
is. But see, I think that
Again,
you're only allowed
lobbying's still
to
required.
again, and not only that, I think somebody said earlier they're only allowed to submit one movie, I guess, per country or something like that.
They should have their own award ceremony.
They do.
Well, they do.
Japan has their own
They
film
do.
award ceremony. Every country has their own film award ceremony. That's why the Oscars are not really all that important internationally.
And also why I bitch about when foreign films normally get nominated in Best Picture category, but in this case, it's like, all right, fine. You've been playing this game for so long, and now you don't give it to me, you
Oh,
assholes.
sure. Now, because it's a movie that you like, now you think it's okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's true. Well,
I'm
it's the
okay
same
with
thing.
that.
It goes both ways.
Yeah.
Like they didn't nominate it, so what the fuck's the difference?
Yeah.
Jason Webster sends in an Australian 5. That makes a difference, though. Godzilla -1 has received nominations for Best Supporting Actress and Visual Effects for the 17th Annual Asian Film Awards. So there you go, 6. It has gotten some for over there. I'm sure it will sweep the awards for a lot of the Asian awards. Jeremy Winfield has been a member for 7 months. Thank you for that. And your awesome Howard the Duck icon there. Taylor Swift, greater than Disney, Star Wars, and MCU, sends in $2. It says, Swift should win every single category, LOL. Yeah, I know you believe that. And Nick the Greek says, with a $1.99, Baby Godzilla. Well, you know what? We'll end the show with Baby Godzilla today to bring down my rage. My rage. Because the only other thing I really wanted to touch on super quick in here was that basically Mario got completely snubbed in the how Best Animated.
It made too much money. It's no longer an art flick.
Valiant, how the fuck did Mario get snubbed? What the fuck?
Well, here's the thing. It didn't conform to any of the new metrics that the Academy Awards wants to use. I saw people
It
asking
wasn't
today
diverse
about.
enough.
Well,
Gotcha.
here's the thing. I saw people complaining about, and I think rightfully so. How did Barbie get lined up for all these awards, and then Margot Robbie got she got totally snubbed for Best Actress? In my
She's not a
initial,
good actress.
well, she's not great, but I kind of wonder. It's like, the movie got put up there. Then why did the movie get put up there? Greta Gerwig gets put up there for writing. The adapted screenplay. I don't know. I think Hollywood seemed like, to me, they're more interested in the movie and the message than maybe the actress herself. That's just me.
Well, the other part too is that Greta Gerwig doesn't toe the ideological line at the level that is required in Hollywood. Remember, she is a woman that has 2 sons, and she has not tried to transition either of them. So that's already
that's
aspect.
it.
The other part too is
what
that
I thought.
she and Margot did an interview, I think, in Australia, where they said it's a feminist film, but they used essentially first wave feminism as their definition, which again is a no-no in Hollywood. So, I mean, that right off that's the other those politics. And then the other part too is I think other studios lobbied harder for their candidates for those 2 positions for best director and best actor lead than Warner Brothers did.
Fair assessment. Yep.
Well,
agreed.
I know we don't have you for very long, Valiant, but I had you come on here specifically more so today because there was a earnings call, was there not?
There was. I just dropped a little clip video from the earnings call a few moments ago on this topic. But yeah, Netflix dropped some numbers, and man, did they hand Nelson Peltz a big old fat win. My Lord. Mike and I were watching this earnings call, and I'll give you the quick version here, and
yes,
that is
please.
this. Everything that Peltz said in that CNBC interview was made whole once again with this Netflix earnings call. Disney has theme parks, they have cruise ships, they have resorts, they have timeshare Disney vacation clubs, they have big old hotels, they have all kind of linear broadcasts, the biggest live sports contracts in the industry. They have movies. They own the biggest intellectual properties in Hollywood, arguably. They have all kind of stuff. Yet, somehow, they only made $2 billion more in profit in the same fiscal year as Netflix did, and Netflix had less than half the revenues that Disney did. Oops. That's what Peltz is talking about. So everybody can go watch that clip, with the video, but it's embarrassing. Netflix is cranking money and profit hand over fist in their sleep, and their advertising revenue game hasn't even really kicked up yet. Amazon and Netflix, if you haven't caught this in the news the last few weeks and months, Amazon Prime and Netflix are just straight up pilfering veteran Disney advertising sales executives from Disney. I mean, it's stupid. And you wonder why that these guys at Disney are looking for the door. We've talked about this. WWE Pro, that Park Place, has talked about this. The writing's on the wall. A couple of 2 or 3 earnings calls ago, maybe even if that, you had the co-CEOs talking about, hey, they were straight up honest with investors. They said on the call, we really don't know anything about advertising. We've never done it. We don't know anything. We don't know the first thing. So we're trying to bring in people that do. So we're going to rely on them. We're working with Microsoft to build this out. We're bringing in advertising sales executives. Now, Netflix and Amazon Prime have rapidly accelerated into becoming advertising leaders on streaming. And Disney is sitting there looking around with nothing but in their hand, trying to figure out what the hell happened. So this is almost getting funny, if it weren't sad, but that's where we are. I mean, this was a great call for Netflix. $33 billion in total revenue for fiscal year 23, just a hair shy of $7 billion in profit. That's stupid. That's 21%. They've already forecast the first quarter of 2024, which for them, their fiscal year runs concurrent with the calendar year. Disney's is offset by 1 quarter. Disney runs from October 1st of each year to September 30th the following year. So we had Disney's numbers, their full fiscal 2023 year back in November for that earnings call. We just got Netflix's fiscal 23. The differences are astonishing, absolutely astonishing. The profit margins for Netflix continue to increase. They seem to have absolutely no effect whatsoever, far less than they anticipated, to be sure, but almost no effect from the password crackdown, signing up people that were relatively detached, at least insofar as their IP address, from the main account holders. They're signing up for premium. They're signing people up for ads. They're going to look to expand the advertising-based tier to more international countries. They added 13 plus million new subscribers in the quarter. Where you at, Disney? You're losing 4 or 5 million subs per quarter. I realize that the vast majority of that, 90+% of that, comes from India. Where's your growth? This is going to be a bellwether. This is going to be a market setter for what Wall Street is going to expect from Disney. Because when you have a streamer like Netflix, who is the leader of the pack, kind of sets the marker, and they say, here's what we did. Wall Street is now going to look to everybody else in that same space, that same industry space, and expect maybe not the exact same results, but they're going to expect to see some type of relative growth that is on pace with what Netflix did within their own companies. Disney is just as likely to report another quarter with a net loss of subs. This is going to be very interesting come February 7th. Thank you, Netflix. You made my day. You made Nelson Peltz's day, for damn sure.
Did you notice the model that Netflix proposed and how similar it is to, say, 2 other streaming models that have been doing it for the last 2 fiscal years?
In terms of...
Well, Netflix's new announcement, in addition to not only getting wrestling, but also with their proposal for their price increases, matched what Peacock did 2 years ago.
Oh, yes. Okay,
and it's also matched what HBO Max did last year. The one thing that you'll also, if you do a closer look at their numbers, every year they reported a profit is also the year where they reported an increase in pricing on their overall subscription stuff, which they're going to be announcing, I think, sometime in this quarter, another increase in Netflix pricing as well, which means that that's how they managed to maintain their profit. But what they don't talk about is how much debt they actually have, which is massive. I mean, it's not Disney level crippling.
Netflix,
it's
not terrible. It's around 10 billion from what they covered in the call today, which for a company at their scale, and honestly, and this is the thing, in the financial world, you're not looking at debt as an absolute figure. You're looking at debt or total debt, and of course the debt service or the payments that you have to make, say, every month or every year. You're looking at that as a ratio to total operating income or to total revenues, or there's different measures. So when you look at Netflix,
they have to operate on a debt because that helps them beneficially on the taxes and then their filings. If they had no debt, they would be actually in debt.
They'd be paying more, right? The interest expenses always help a company get down and look. Like I always tell people, the basis in finance for, when you look at the wealthiest people on earth, the most successful people on earth, I always tell folks, they didn't get there by paying cash from their own pockets. They didn't get there by spending all of their own money. They got there by using other people's money. They got there by borrowing and leveraging themselves. So when you look at, I'll put it this way, Netflix has $33 billion in revenue, right? They had 6.9, just shy of $7 billion of total operating income, which is a profit margin measure. Mm-hmm. They have $10 billion in debt. Now let's look at Disney. Disney has significantly more. I think they're still floating around. I think it's at 60 or 70 billion, I think all totaled, in long and short-term debt. They had 88 billion or almost 89 billion in total revenue for fiscal 23, with 8.8 billion, just 2 billion more in operating income than Netflix. when you actually look at the ratios of the operating income to total debt outstanding and the service on that debt, Disney's in far worse shape.
Oh yeah, they can't control
Yeah.
their spending, and which is funny because that's been a criticism of Netflix for a very long time, is that they're spending too much in comparison to the other studios, not just with their licensing deals, but also for their original programming. But because they have such a huge subscriber base, because they've been because they've been pulling back on the quantity of the stuff that they've been putting out in comparison to previous years, they're able to actually net a lot more stability. And now when they're going through this ad model, and they're getting a bunch of these relatively experienced ad executives involved in helping them to fashion that, we're going to see a really massive change in how shows are going to be produced and budgeted, because it has to take into account how valuable it could potentially be for advertisers. And this goes into, and they're building this off of the oddly enough, the WGA MBA, which has a performance-based residual, which means that they want to have the best shows to get them the best writers to get them the best profits from their customers, which means you're going to end up having an interesting bidding war in the next 2 years for some of the top tier writing talent that knows how to bring audiences to their product.
Yes.
Well, and as we've said before, Script, that the biggest positive that can come out of, I know people don't like ads. I know that's a knee-jerk reaction, but what that means, though, then is that the good things are going to be there, the bad things are going to go away. Because that means the shit that people nobody's watching, nobody's going to get ad revenue for it. So yeah,
they're going to fade. Here's the other part too. Your favorite Netflix show that gets canceled after 3 seasons might not, because it's making money off of ad revenue.
Yep.
Because especially if they can also license it out. I mean, and I think Netflix is still probably at some point going to do that and send some of their quote unquote dead content, the library content, send it out to AVOD, send it out to basically free streaming services, license it out, right? I think that's going to be a big part of where they go.
I don't want to change the direction of this so far, because I don't know how long we have you for, but here's something also some of the other members of our panel might be interested in. So I was curious how this was, how this affected the announcement today, because this is a big deal for Netflix, because this actually puts them on the live sports plane.
Yeah, the first 4 or 5 questions as soon as it started was about WWE. Yeah.
And I'm not a wrestling guy, so I turn that over to any of you wrestling people or anything else. But I do know there was a bidding war involved. I do know this is a big deal. I know it has a very loyal audience. I know there's a lot of...
That's it. It's the loyal audience. And I think, look, it's a great win for Netflix. $5 billion, I believe it was, for 10 years. For WWE, and I think it will be very, very well received. You're right. That is an audience that effectively, they follow this wherever it goes, and this audience sticks. This audience is hardcore. They watch the programming, they buy the merch, they're deeply involved in it. And it's hard to break them off of it. I mean, this is a great, easy win for Netflix. Think about this. $5 billion to get WWE, and albeit a much smaller audience than some major sports, but for a price tag that is, I mean, not even a fraction of the cost of some of the major sports leagues. We're talking about, that later this year, the NBA is going to be looking for perhaps 70 plus billion for a contract. It is going to wind up getting, just like it is now, split between Warner and Disney and their linear broadcast channels and some of their streamers. The NFL's contract, the NCAA contract. I mean, you're talking about contracts. They're not $5 billion. They're tens of billions in some cases over the course of time, many years, 100 billion plus. This is a good, easy win for Netflix to whet their appetite on actually starting live broadcasts from their service.
Exactly.
And bringing in a hardcore fan base that may actually very well increase their subscribership, which, I mean, to what degree yet we don't know. But just think about this. Think about all the things that Netflix has done with other content. They've taken library content shows that have been off the air for years, brought them in, put them on Netflix, and all of a sudden they're popular again. Imagine what this could do for WWE. not just here in the U.S., but for international markets as well.
Like makes it more accessible because wrestling stuff is not so accessible on some of the prestige cable channels. Netflix is far more commonplace.
Huge audience, bigger audience, by far bigger audience. But I want to take this back around to, I want to get everybody's reaction to all this, of course. But before we get to that, I just want to kind of lump in there the things you guys were just talking about, because the reason I brought this up at this time is I think this is a leap for Netflix in beginning live broadcasts through Netflix. Because this is one thing that because even though the streaming war is pretty much done, I think the one thing that has kept Peacock and Paramount Plus in play in the streaming war, and Script knows where I'm going with this, is that they actually have live NBC and CBS feeds through their streaming service. And I think that adds a premium to that. And this means Netflix could be starting their own basically live channel through the streaming service. And I don't think that's a horrible idea. And I think that's kind of where this might be headed. What do you guys think on that?
Netflix News Network? That would be weird.
Well, they'll just basically have like a handful of live streaming stuff, but yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if they go to a news division, but yeah, be interesting.
I mean, they're for sports, I see one for other kind of shows and stuff like that, and they got their stores opening up and stuff like that. But yeah,
I could see your point, Tom. That does kind of line up. If any streaming service is going to do it, definitely Netflix or Amazon, something who's got a gigantic crowd, definitely makes sense. Obviously, Netflix is the winner by a landslide. So, yeah, it makes sense. And they're obviously going in on advertising. And it's a good testing ground for something like WWE. I almost said F. Still have it their 21 years because they've been struggling with their audience for years now. And this is going to be a way to maybe get them to maybe a crowd who normally would not check them out. So if this works, then clearly they have found a new audience. And if they find a new audience and they don't stick around, well, then WWE is not meant to be. I think this is also a little bit of a last-ditch effort on Vince McMahon's company's part as well, because they're not doing that great. They're really not. And they're hoping that they can still do a lot of the same things that they've been doing, whether it's the stunts or the constantly relying on old characters to get by. They're going to see if they can get away with that for Netflix. And that's, I think, what they're hoping to see how much more they can get away with. So who knows? Maybe they'll actually change, but I'm not banking on it. I have enough.
Well, they got $5 billion to work with. It sounds like.
Well,
sorry,
I have enough wrestling friends who keep me in the loop. I mean, I'm a guy from the Attitude Era, and that was a time when the new talent was coming up like weeds in our grass. There was always new talent coming up. It was an exciting time, and for every returning legend you'd have, there would be also a newer rising star to balance that out. So I just don't see that happening. But hey, I'd be happy to be wrong and saying, hey, Raw moving to Netflix was the shot in the arm that Vince McMahon and company needed. So we'll see.
I think Netflix is going to benefit internationally. I think that for a while, weren't they doing tournaments in Dubai or weird things like that?
Yeah, Saudi Arabia, they would do like exclusive shows in the Middle East because that's one of the reasons why they would keep the legacy characters going.
They probably know that there's some kind of international audience for them, and that alone is probably worth it. In addition, kind of like the House of Cards was their sort of pilot program for doing their own original show. Like you all said, this is going to give them sort of their House of Cards of some live sports, and maybe even it'll start getting them to think, yeah, we'll put a few other channels. They could do a live comedy channel where they just take shows that they already have anyways and just do some kind of like as if it's a linear network, but on their thing with the content that they already have. Even though that sounds stupid, but the idea of a live channel appeals to some people, and maybe there's something they can do with it.
Well, and that's what I was getting at too, Price. Yeah, because people like nowadays sometimes, especially with Netflix, you get just lost in trying to find something to watch.
Yeah.
Sometimes people just like to be able to turn something on and not have to think about it. Were you going to say something, CC? I think it was.
Yeah, I was going to say I gave up on Netflix years ago because I got tired of investing in shows that they were never going to properly finish. I mean, I understand if something's not performing and it's going to get canceled. That's always been the case. But I had this maybe a little bit of a sweet summer child feeling. It was like, okay, Netflix is the streaming service. You have the opportunity to actually complete the shows that you start. maybe you don't go for all the 5 or 7 seasons you would have hoped for, but you have the opportunity to complete it, to give it a proper ending. And Netflix just continued to not do that. They just cancel shows without a proper finale. And I was like, what's the point? What am I investing my time in here for, So I think, with something like WWE, with wrestling in general, you have an ongoing thing that if Netflix stops, broadcasting it, somebody else will. It will continue. There will be an actual arc to it.
Mm-hmm.
You have that with live sports. You have that with something like news. Just invest in content that you can actually have a beginning, a middle, and an end to. I'd like to see more of that from them. I think that would be a start.
Don't forget, this is the third attempt at streaming for the WWE in general, because it started with WWE Network, which I did actually have, and I didn't mind. But unfortunately, it didn't have enough subscribers to keep going on its own merits. And my guess is that they're still doing stuff with Peacock, which is attempt number 2. Now they're doing this for Raw. So I wonder if they're going to do something at SmackDown, or if they're going to keep like a Raw Netflix exclusive thing. Because I can imagine it would actually be beneficial for them to put their pay-per-views on something like Netflix, more so than Peacock would ever be. Assuming that they are on Peacock. I don't currently follow it anymore, but I'm assuming it's on Peacock. So who knows?
It's like with wrestling, don't suddenly stop broadcasting it partway through a storyline. I know wrestling is a little bit scripted. That's fine. So complete your story arc. Wrap it up with a big spectacular finale. A big show where everyone's on the stage, and like your annual event. And then if you want to pass it on to somebody else to broadcast it, do it then. Have a natural end point,
Yeah, but VR had to take off. That's why I took down the main thing. I was going to give him an outro, but he left before I had a chance to give him an outro. But yeah, so check out Valiant's recent reporting on the Netflix stuff if you want more info on that. And as far as the wrestling stuff, does anybody else have anything more to say before we get on out of here?
If memory serves, USA was actually losing money on their existing WWE contract, so that's why they didn't renew it.
You are correct.
And that goes to something that I've really only heard from, I guess, you, Nick, and maybe Razorfist, talking about how WWE's fan support has been on a steady decline for a number of years.
Yes.
There's possibly a chance that because Netflix with its much broader audience potential might allow that to be reignited. Then the next aspect is, will the WWE actually up their game so that they can bring those new fans in and keep them? Because that's the other part too. Like they're not the shows that they're putting on have not been up to par from a lot of people that are justifiably criticizing against what has been happening with wrestling over the last few years. So that has to change next, and if they're going to do that. And I think Netflix got a great deal, because essentially, if it is a $5 million contract for 10 years, that's $500,000 a year. That's a really good deal for a contract on a specific sporting events. That's nothing for Netflix. They find that in the couch in their lobby. So that's a win for them.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we'll see how this goes, because right now Vince McMahon is resting on his laurels. No, aside from all this, because he's had no real major competition. You'll see companies that come up like they're like the equivalent of like an indie company, but they're not a major competitor. Maybe they'll continue to survive, but there's nothing truly threatening Vince. And when Vince doesn't have anyone that's truly threatening, he doesn't really take his company as serious. I mean, we all saw what happened in the mid 90s during the before they went for the Attitude Era. There's the mid 90s, and they're just kind of going through the motions, which is unfortunate, because they actually did have some really good talent at the time, but they weren't taking their company seriously until WCW became the rising star. It was just like, oh, hey, look at, we got all your names who left your company for ours. And then they're like, oh, crud. And not only did they take your stars, but they're also beating you in the ratings. So I don't know. I hope that this does it, because clearly no competition's coming up, and they need to do something. Because I'm down for a PG era that could draw me in. It doesn't have to be a edgelord festival in order for me to be invested. There needs to be characters. I would suggest also having their superstars go back to doing promos from the heart rather than having those be scripted, because it makes such a difference when you just let the guys loose. It really does. But that's just me.
Well said, Nicholas.
Oh, thank you.
I guess that's it. All right. Well, nobody else has anything to say on that. So we got one more super sticker here. It looks like Kitty Bear sent us probably a pooper sticker, knowing him. Yeah, it is a pooper sticker. Nobody dares send me pooper stickers outside of Six and Kitty Bear. Thank you for the pooper
I'm
stickers.
surprised you don't
Kitty
get
Bear.
more on Sunday night with the shit list.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Yeah, we should start something. Maybe we can get something rolling with that. It's a good idea.
We can send them to ourselves.
Well, that's not such a great idea.
You just want piles of pooper stickers?
Oh yeah, I just want to. Yeah, I want everybody to send them.
I like the smell of horse poop.
Wow.
Are you being serious right now?
I used to. Wow. Skip has this prejudice about girls who grew up around horses, but I used to ride.
That's a deep cut. Jeez. Then CC not to feel FOMO sent in a pooper sticker. Thank you for that, CC.
Oh, it's awesome.
And then D Bud's just dropping turdlets. They're cute. Look at how adorable them little turdlets are.
They are cute.
Uh,
Like little rabbit. Little rabbit turds.
all right, kids. Let's get on out of here. Nick, we're gonna be talking Rambo in what, like an hour?
Yeah, yes,
If I can
sir.
stay
A little
awake.
over an hour, yeah. 2008 Rambo, come hang out.
That
Watch
was the
me kill
last
a bunch
decent
of
Rambo.
bastards. Oh, it's really.
I didn't hate Last Blood, but
Oh.
yeah.
Oh, Last Blood is
Rambo's definitely
yeah.
better though.
Oh
Yeah,
God.
Rambo's
I
better than Last
remember
Blood.
when this came out, because I actually was like, man, I love Stone, but and he's still in shape, but do we really need another one? Until I saw him, like, okay, I stand corrected.
Yeah.
What's the slogan? Live for nothing or die for something. What was the slogan?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly a live for nothing, die for something. That's exactly it. So yeah, Toxic Tuesday, Rambo 4 in 1 hour. Come hang out. It'll be fun. It's gonna be huge, and it's gonna be absolutely diabolical on top of that. So thanks for having me. A fun show as always, and chat. See most of you in an hour. For those who I don't see, go have a good evening or morning if you're somewhere else in the world.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, I don't know if anybody else had anything more to say about the Oscar stuff, but yeah, that was the only other big surprise. Really, was that Mario was snubbed completely. No Peaches. Is it though? No Peaches, no Best Animated Feature. I believe those two at least deserved.
Really, Peaches?
I did have something to say about the Oscars. That we were talking about that Bradley Cooper movie, and I think we started talking about other stuff. It's on Netflix, and a few times I wanted to watch it, but really every time before I press play, I feel like I don't feel like watching it, and I can't explain why. Maybe the subject matter it's a subject matter that never interested me, and nothing about it seems to interest me now either.
Yeah. Six, did you have anything else you wanted to say about the Oscars?
Just about the documentaries. Was anybody surprised besides me that the Michael J. Fox documentary wasn't?
Yeah, I was kind of pissed about that. Now that you mention that, thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, I was upset about that.
That was all I had to say.
That's kind of surprising. He's loved.
Yeah.
Well, and it was an interesting documentary. I'm not saying that nobody's ever done a documentary that way before, but for those who've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. But those who haven't, they take real footage from his movies, mix it with actors, and then interview footage. But you never see the actor playing Michael from his face, right? So it's kind of really not submersive. Is that the word I'm looking for? Submersive? Yeah, real submersive as far as getting you into the story. So it's almost like a movie at the same time as it's also a documentary. So yeah, it was really interesting. If you haven't seen it, it's on Apple. I recommend it. It's called Still.
How was Air not nominated for anything now that I think about it?
Yeah, I don't know. That's weird. I would have thought at least a couple of the actors would have gotten nominated.
Viola Davis, at least Viola Davis for playing his mother, that was I thought was a shoo-in.
Yeah. What
Isn't
about
there-
Black Panther? Or was that last year?
I think that was last year,
Last
but
year.
Air, I think
Oh.
was for this year. I think it was qualified.
Yes,
for
it was.
this year.
Air was this year. Yes. What were you saying, Six?
Isn't there one of the stipulations for the Oscar requirements is that a movie has to be in a theater for a certain amount of time, or is that just if it's nominated for Best Picture?
I saw
Yes.
Air in the theater.
4 weeks.
Yep, and Air was in theaters, and that's why they put these movies just for a few weeks, and then they pull them, like Script was just saying. And actually, I was alerted to I can get the Oscar rules. I'm going to get those so I can read them, but it's like 40 pages, so it's going to take me a while to get through them. But
Yeah, one of the mods posted it, I think.
yeah, but thank you for the pooper sticker 6, another one. Or no,
It's
this is
not
a
pooper sticker.
this is a city.
I couldn't. Does anybody else ever click on the super sticker option and then they aren't allowed to choose a sticker? They're just allowed
No,
to choose
I've
a
never
dollar
had
amount.
that.
So I just picked the cheapest one because I'm poor.
Oh well, you
And
didn't
it
have
was
to do it in the first
it was
place.
It was a pretty skyline.
Okay, yeah, it is. I see it now.
Better than poo.
Thank you, Six. Yeah, better than
You're
poo.
welcome.
Better than poo.
Better than
Almost everything is
poo.
better than poo.
For better, and
but that's why
everything is better than shit.
I can't believe Tetris they didn't put in theaters just for a couple weeks just to get it at least possibly nominated.
Well, with Apple and MGM, they're putting Argyle in theaters.
There's a few they have been, yeah, but because another one of theirs is American Fiction, which did get nominated. So
yeah,
like,
that also premiered at TIFF, and that was a help too because.
And the same thing with Killers of the Flower Moon, and it's like that's the thing is they're already dominate. Like, can you imagine had they put that in theaters? And I can't believe, like you said, 6 Air didn't get any nominations either. But the nominations are mostly dominated by a lot of streaming stuff. I didn't even look at some of the movies I didn't know, and the problem I probably didn't know them because they probably were streaming films. I bet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they went in theaters, but then they were basically meant for streaming.
Remember, like with Netflix and Amazon and Apple, if Apple did the theater stuff, they would have money to burn to get nominations and possible wins at the Academy.
Shit, that's all you should use that money for, basically. Then, yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
because then that kind of informs you how much money you think you should put into it.
Yep.
Dearest sent us a little island with an umbrella. Thank you for that, Dearest, and the $1.49 super sticker. And Goddess of Whim sent us a little Sheba dog farting hearts. I still say they smell like sweet tarts. Sweet farts. Thank you for that, Goddess of Whim, and the awesome little Sheba dog. Appreciate that. You know what? Just for that, I'm going to give you a board corgi. There you go. Because we all love puppies.
Yeah.
So anyway, as we were saying, Nick, in just under an hour now, Rambo over on Nick's channel. This will send you over there. So head on over there.
Yeah. Come hang out in 50 minutes. It's going to be huge.
Price, what you got going on?
I posted some kind of Doctor Who video explaining the thing that's happening now with the Disney and the actress and things like that. If people are interested in my take on that, I'm working again on a few other videos, but I don't have anything immediate. I guess there's nothing to plug. You can check out my channel. There's videos there.
All right, CC.
As always, Friday night karaoke, where you will usually find Tom Connors and Price of Reason. We just we sing songs and we hang out and have fun.
Indeed. Script, what you got going on?
Tomorrow I'm probably not going to be much on the internet at all because I've got a bunch of interviews with producers I have to go to.
Ooh.
But just go check out some of the stuff I have on my channel, my second thoughts of Scripts on Saturdays, and my Scripts on Saturdays podcast, which is every Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we review a screenplay that is currently circulating Hollywood and rated on its quality and of the writer and also the quality of the producers that voted on it. So yeah, let's look forward to that.
Awesome. 6, anything I'm forgetting besides thanking the mods and the chat and everybody like that?
Midnight's Edge in the morning
Yes.
in 12, 13, 14, 15 and a half hours. And thank you, D-Bud and Daryl and Mecha J and Goddess and everyone else. And that's it.
All right. And yeah, so I'll try to hop on Nick's stream if I can stay awake long enough. And the morning show. So take care of yourselves and each other, and take us away as promised. Put me back in a better mood since Godzilla didn't get any major nominations other than special effects. It's just fucking lame. We're gonna play a little Baby Gojira.